She thought I hung up the phone. I listened for 19 minutes while she admitted everything. Now she's homeless. Honey, grab a drink and sit down, because the level of audacity I am about to spill is going to make your blood pressure spike. We are talking about the kind of betrayal that makes you question humanity, followed by the kind of revenge that is best served absolutely ice cold. You know those horror movies where the call is coming from inside the house? Well, in this case, the enemy was sleeping in the master bedroom, eating off the good china, and planning to ruin a good man's life while laughing about it. Let me introduce you to Carter. Now, Carter is the kind of guy you want your sister to marry. He's 32, built like a linebacker who decided to become a carpenter, and he runs his own custom furniture and restoration business down in Savannah, Georgia. He's not flashy. He drives a truck that's covered in sawdust, his hands are always rough from sanding mahogany, and he has a moral compass that points true north. He bought this dilapidated carriage house on the edge of the historic district about 4 years ago. It was a wreck. Termite damage, sagging roof, the works. But Carter, he saw the potential. He spent every spare dime and every spare minute restoring this place by hand. He laid the heart pine floors himself. He built the kitchen cabinets from scratch. It wasn't just a house, it was his soul in physical form. Enter Vanessa. Vanessa was the it girl. Gorgeous, polished, worked in high-end real estate staging. On paper, they were the power couple of the neighborhood, the rugged artisan and the chic designer. She moved in about 2 years ago, and by all accounts, they were heading straight for the altar. Carter was absolutely besotted with this woman. He thought the sun rose and set on her perfectly highlighted hair. He was days, literally days, away from proposing. He had the ring hidden in a hollowed-out antique book in his shop. It was a vintage sapphire piece, something unique, just like she said she wanted. But honey, let me tell you how we got here. Because red flags don't just pop up out of nowhere. Usually we just paint them white and call it a fence. About 6 months ago, the dynamics started to shift. You know the drill. The phone started living face down on the coffee table. Passwords got changed. She suddenly had a lot of late showings and client dinners that ran until midnight. But Carter is a trusting soul. He's not the jealous type. He figured, hey, the market is hot, she's hustling, I should be supportive. He'd leave a plate of food in the microwave for her and go to bed alone, thinking he was being a good partner. Vanessa had also reconnected with an old college friend named Julian. Now, Julian was the complete opposite of Carter. He was a wannabe musician who bartended part-time and mostly lived off his parents' trust fund. He had that tortured artist vibe that some women find irresistible for reasons I will never understand. Vanessa swore up and down that Julian was just a friend going through a rough patch and needed support. Carter, being the saint that he is, even helped Julian fix up his apartment. He went over there, fixed a leaky sink, and hung some shelves, all while Julian drank beer and watched. The disrespect started quietly. Little digs. Vanessa would make fun of Carter's work clothes. She'd roll her eyes when he talked about wood grain or joinery. She started calling him simple to her friends. Carter's sweet, she'd say at parties, but he's not exactly a conversationalist, you know? Carter took it. He thought, maybe I am boring. Maybe I need to try harder. So he did. He planned date nights. He bought her gifts. He tried to engage with her shallow friends. But the universe has a funny way of exposing the truth when you're ready to hear it. It was a Tuesday. A random, humid, sticky Tuesday in July. Carter was at his shop, sweating through his shirt, working on a massive dining table commission. He decides to call Vanessa on his lunch break, just to ask if she wanted him to pick up takeout from that sushi place she loves. A nice gesture, right? She answers on the second ring. Hey, babe, she says. Her voice is normal. Sweet, even. Hey, Carter says, I'm wrapping up early, thinking about grabbing some spicy tuna rolls from Saki's. You in? Oh, that sounds amazing, she says. But I'm actually swamped with this closing. I might be late. Don't wait up for me, okay? No worries, Carter says. Love you. Love you too, she says. And then silence, but not the click of a disconnected call. It was the rustling sound of a phone being shoved into a purse or a pocket without hitting the red button. Carter was about to hang up. His thumb was hovering over the screen. When he heard it, he heard a car door slam. Then he heard Vanessa's voice, muffled but crystal clear, and completely different from the sweet tone she'd just used with him. God, he's so clingy. It's pathetic. Carter froze. He pressed the phone harder against his ear, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. Then a male voice. Julian. Did you tell him you're working late? Yeah, Vanessa laughed. It was a cruel, mocking sound. I told him I have a closing. He believes anything I say. The man is practically a golden retriever. If I told him the sky was green, he'd go buy green paint. If you are already shook, hit that like button because I haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. This poor man is standing in his workshop, surrounded by the life he's built, listening to the woman he wants to marry destroy him. Julian laughed. So when are you going to dump him? You said you were going to do it last month. I know, Vanessa sighed. But listen, he's planning something. I found a receipt for a ring, a big one, sapphire. So, she said, her voice dripping with greed. I figure I let him propose. I say yes. We have the engagement party. My parents are planning to throw a huge one at the country club. And then, once I have the ring and the social clout, I tell him it's not working out. I can probably keep the ring if I play the victim card right. Plus, I need him to finish the renovations on the guest cottage before I move out. It'll bump my property value up if I can claim I contributed to the design. You're evil, Julian chuckled. I love it. I'm not evil. I'm practical, she said. Carter is he's a placeholder, Julian. He's safe, but he's so boring. Being with him is like watching paint dry. Being with you, that's living. Carter listened. He listened as they drove. He listened as they walked into Julian's apartment. He listened to things that no person should ever have to hear their partner doing with someone else. He stood there for 19 minutes and 32 seconds, recording the audio on his shop computer, which was synced to his Bluetooth headset, until the connection finally dropped. He didn't scream. He didn't throw his tools. He sat down on a pile of lumber and stared at a knot in the wood for an hour. See, Vanessa made a fatal error. She mistook Carter's kindness for stupidity. She mistook his silence for weakness. She didn't realize that Carter was a craftsman. He knew how to build things, but he also knew exactly how to dismantle them, piece by piece. He went to his friend Marcus's house that night. Marcus is a divorce attorney, shark in a suit type. Carter played him the recording. Marcus listened, his face getting harder and harder. Okay, Marcus said, pouring Carter a stiff bourbon. Here is what we are going to do. We are going to nuke her life from orbit, but we are going to do it legally. They spent the next 2 days strategizing. Carter went home that night and slept in the guest room, telling Vanessa he had a migraine. She didn't even care. She came home at 1 a.m., smelling like expensive cologne and lies, and passed out in the master bed. Phase 1, the assets. Carter owned the house. Thank God for premarital assets. Vanessa's name wasn't on the deed. However, he had co-signed the lease on her white Audi Q5 because her credit was trashed from student loans when they met. The next morning, Carter went to the dealership. He spoke to the manager, an old client of his. He explained the situation. He paid the lease break fee out of his own pocket. $2,000, painful but worth it, and removed his name from the liability. Vanessa was now driving a car she technically didn't qualify for. Phase 2, the finances. They had a joint account for wedding savings and household bills. Vanessa contributed almost nothing to it, claiming her commission checks were sporadic, while Carter dumped a percentage of every job into it. There was about $15,000 in there. $12,000 of it was verifiably Carter's deposits. He withdrew every single penny that he had contributed, leaving exactly her share, $340. He opened a new account at a different bank. Phase 3, the family. This was the hardest part. Carter loved Vanessa's parents, Frank and Joyce. Frank was a retired military man, strict but honorable. Joyce was a sweet Southern lady who baked peach cobbler. They treated Carter like a son. He called them on Thursday. Frank, Joyce, I need to come over alone. It's an emergency. They sat in their living room, confused and worried. Carter didn't spin a story. He didn't get emotional. He just said, I love your daughter, but I cannot marry her. And I think you need to know why before this weekend. He played the recording. I want you to imagine the silence in that room. Frank turned a shade of purple that looked medically dangerous. Joyce just covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. When the recording got to the part where Vanessa called Carter a placeholder and plotted to steal the ring and use the engagement party for clout, Frank stood up and walked to the window. He wouldn't look at anyone. I am so sorry, son, Frank finally said, his voice shaking with rage. I am so ashamed. I'm not showing you this to hurt you, Carter said gently, but I'm kicking her out on Sunday. and I didn't want you to think I just abandoned her without cause. Sunday? Joyce wiped her eyes. That's when you were supposed to propose? Exactly, Carter said. Make sure you're subscribed because the update I'm about to drop is going to make you scream. This is where the slow burn turns into a forest fire. Sunday morning rolled around. Vanessa was in high spirits. She had hinted heavily about going to brunch at this fancy riverside spot, assuming that's where the proposal would happen. She spent 2 hours getting ready. She put on a white dress, the audacity of wearing white, I can't even, and did her hair perfectly. She walked into the living room twirling. How do I look? Carter was sitting in his armchair drinking black coffee. He was wearing his work boots and dirty jeans. You look great, he said flatly. Sit down. Vanessa frowned, her smile faltering. Sit down? Aren't we going to brunch? We have reservations at noon. We aren't going to brunch, Carter said. And we aren't getting married. She laughed, a nervous, tinkling sound. What? Carter, stop joking. You're scaring me. I know about Julian. Carter dropped the bomb. Vanessa's face went pale, then red. Julian, that's ridiculous. He's just a friend. You're being paranoid. Is this about me working late? Because I can show you my... I heard the phone call, Vanessa, Carter interrupted, his voice steady. Tuesday, you didn't hang up. I heard you tell him I was a placeholder. I heard you plan to steal the ring. I heard you call me a golden retriever. The air left the room. Vanessa froze. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. The denial died in her throat. Carter, listen, she started, the tears instantly springing up. Fake tears. I was just venting. I didn't mean it. I was confused. Julian manipulated me. Save it, Carter said. He stood up. You have 2 hours to pack your things. I've already boxed up your books and your kitchen stuff. They're in the garage. You can't do this, she screamed, the mask finally slipping. This is my house too. I have rights. You can't just kick me out on the street. Actually, I can, Carter said calmly. My name is on the deed. You're a guest, and your guest privileges have been revoked. Also, I took my name off the Audi lease. You might want to call the bank about that. She started throwing things. She grabbed a vase, one she bought, and smashed it on the floor. I am not leaving. You are ruining my life. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know, Carter said. Maybe Julian has room on his futon. Just then, the doorbell rang. Vanessa's eyes lit up. She probably thought it was the police, or maybe a neighbor she could manipulate. She ran to the door and flung it open. Help! He's trying to... She stopped dead. Standing on the porch were Frank and Joyce, her parents. And they didn't look like they were there to save her. They looked like executioners. Mom? Dad? Vanessa stammered. Thank God, Carter is going crazy. He's throwing me out. Tell him he can't... We know, Frank said. His voice was like gravel. We heard the recording, Vanessa. Vanessa looked from her parents to Carter and back again. The realization hit her like a freight train. She was completely surrounded. You played it for them? She hissed at Carter. You petty little... Watch your mouth, Frank snapped. Pack your bags, now. But where am I going to go? She wailed, crying for real now. I can't afford an apartment downtown. I can't move back home. You are correct, Joyce said, her voice trembling but firm. You are not moving back home. We raised you better than this. To treat a good man like dirt, to mock him. We are disgusted, Vanessa. You're on your own. The next hour was a blur of chaotic packing. Carter stood on the porch, drinking his coffee, while Vanessa ran back and forth with armfuls of clothes, shoving them into her Audi. Her parents stood by their car, watching her. They didn't help her lift a single box. They just supervised to make sure she didn't steal anything of Carter's. When she was finally loaded up, she turned to Carter one last time. She looked wrecked, mascara running, dress rumpled. You'll regret this, she spat. You're going to be alone in this big empty house, and you're going to miss me. I'd rather be alone than be with a fraud, Carter said. Leave the key. She threw the key into the bushes and peeled out of the driveway. Her parents walked up to Carter. Frank shook his hand. Joyce hugged him. I'm so sorry, Joyce whispered. Don't let this harden your heart, sweetie. They left. Carter walked into his quiet house. He picked up the broken pieces of the vase she smashed, swept the floor, and for the first time in 6 months, he breathed easy. Update 1, 2 weeks later. So, the fallout was spectacular. Savannah is a small town disguised as a city. Everyone talks. Vanessa tried to spin the narrative that Carter was abusive and controlling, but Carter had receipts. He didn't post them publicly, he's too classy for that, but he told a few key people, including the wives of some prominent real estate brokers. The truth spread like wildfire. Vanessa lost two major clients because they didn't want to work with someone so unethical. And Julian? Oh, this is the best part. When Vanessa showed up at Julian's apartment with a car full of boxes, expecting to move in, Julian panicked. Remember, he's a trust fund baby who likes his space. He didn't want a roommate, especially not a high-maintenance one who was currently having a mental breakdown. He broke up with her right there in the parking lot, told her she was too intense and he wasn't ready for a serious commitment. So Vanessa had to stay at a cheap motel out by the interstate. Update 2. The confrontation. About 3 days after the eviction, Vanessa showed up at Carter's parents' house, his folks, not hers. She was screaming on the lawn at 9 p.m. Carter wasn't even there. He was working late at the shop. She was yelling that Carter had turned her family against her, that he had poisoned everyone. Carter's mom, a no-nonsense woman named Barbara, came out onto the porch with a garden hose. "Vanessa," Barbara yelled, "if you don't get off my property in 10 seconds, I'm turning the sprinklers on, and then I'm calling the sheriff." Vanessa kept screaming until Barbara actually turned the hose on, hit her right in the chest with a stream of cold water. She ran back to her car, soaking wet. Carter's dad watched from the window, laughing so hard he almost choked on his dinner. Final update, 6 months later. Carter is doing amazing. He finished the renovations on the carriage house, but instead of selling it or living in it alone, he rented out the downstairs unit to a traveling nurse, a nice, quiet lady who pays on time. He's dating again, casually. A teacher he met at the hardware store. She likes sawdust. Vanessa is still in town, but she's fallen from grace. She lost the Audi, couldn't make the payments, and is driving a beat-up Honda. She's working at a lower-tier agency now. Carter ran into her at the grocery store last week. He was buying steaks. She was buying frozen dinners and a box of wine. She looked tired. The sparkle was gone. She stopped him in the aisle. "Carter," she said softly, I miss the house." "Not I miss you. I miss the house." Carter smiled, a genuine, happy smile. "It's a great house," he said. "Too bad you didn't respect the builder." He walked away and didn't look back. So let this be a lesson to everyone out there. If you're going to cheat on a good man, make sure you hang up the phone first. But honestly, just don't cheat, because eventually the trash always takes itself out. Now, I have to ask you guys, do you think the parents were too harsh for not helping her, or did she get exactly what she deserved? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more tea.